Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast and video cast. If you're watching on YouTube, possibly if this works. Yeah. All about video games and craft beer. I'm Ben, and I'm here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey. How are you?
I'm good. I'm cold.
Yes.
Otherwise good. You?
Nice. The same. Exactly the same. Good, but cold. Not so much cold now. I've warmed up a little bit through the day, but a 8:30 start in the garage this morning was pretty chilly.
Yeah.
I busted out here in my shorts and my flip-flops and a t-shirt and very swiftly went back inside to don the jumper, jeans and socks. So yeah, there's been a change.
Change of weather.
Yes.
Change of fortune.
Ooh.
For some. Like Brewdog.
Oh, Brewdog, yes.
Yes.
Let's touch on this. That's a good point, Lucy. That's a good point. We shared earlier between ourselves an article all about how well Brewdog are doing. You know, sometimes we start off an episode talking about maybe a few missteps that they've had, some bad marketing campaigns that they've put out, or when they've just... Did we talk about their mistreatment of an employee?
No, but that was pretty bad.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Maybe just go and look that up if you want something else to throw at Brewdog. But irrelevant of all of that, they're doing really well. Their revenue has gone up by 55%. That is massive.
Huge.
From an article from The Scotsman, written by Hannah Burley, this suggests that Brewdog, their revenue has almost gone up to 80 million. That's more than I can even envisage.
Yeah. Are they still a microbrewery at this point? They blur the lines. They do.
Brewdog are that brewery that kind of sits almost in that middle ground between the two, really. They kind of maybe do enough in terms of putting out new beers, especially with this fanzine that they've brought out, where they're giving people sort of like limited run beers, changing up formulas, changing up recipes. So they're kind of remaining in that kind of like craft notion, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
craft at heart, but
maybe business-wise,
macro corporation
kind of next step. Is there a middle step? MIDI.
Maybe they wanting to introduce something at some point which is in between. People said no. Who knows at this point? I mean, there's a different definition for craft every week, it seems. So maybe there's a new one. I don't know. And
I'm pretty sure there's a very definitive idea of what craft is in the US, whereas over here there's not so much, perhaps.
Yeah, it's how many barrels or hectolitres or something of beer that you brew every year, and how much of a stake, like minority stake or majority stake, a beer corporation has over you or something like that. So there's too many rules. Just drink beer.
Exactly. Just drink
except
whatever
if it's
like and enjoy it.
Except Bud Light. Don't drink that.
It's not beer though, is it really?
No, it's piss water.
Yes.
So, no.
Yes. In this article on the Scotsman.com, it suggests that their bar division made gains of 92% versus the same period last year. That's absolutely massive. A lot of people obviously going out to drink.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I get it, but I would have thought like people, we're still in that phase where it's hard for people to adapt to, or not adapt, but like adopt to like new beers and new haunts for them to go to. So for Brewdog to be getting people in droves, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
to that extent. It's I would have thought it's like, I don't know, 15% year over year, but 92.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Brewdog's numbers, both in the kind of like their revenue and their market share, stack up against not just the smaller guys, but against the bigger boys as well. To kind of see how much of a chunk they're taking away from other people, perhaps. Because I can't imagine people are going out more I think perhaps maybe Brewdog have opened up a few more bars, and people have gone, oh, there's a Brewdog bar there. I know the name. They've done very well at kind of like brand recognition and stuff over the last few years. So, for people to kind of know the name and go into one of their bars kind of makes sense if one has just popped up as well. I've not been in the Brewdog bar in Bristol for probably this year, actually. Probably for a whole, since 2018. I haven't been in Brewdog.
Yeah.
So, obviously other people are. They had their whole, here's a coupon for a free beer as well.
I was about to mention
try and draw people in. So they're doing things.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot minute since I was in one as well. Definitely not been to one this year, even though I've been enticed to go because I have like unlimited wings Wednesday.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's the loss leader and just pay for beers upon beers. But I sat opposite one a few weeks ago, but I never went in.
Oh! I have been in one.
No?
That's a lie. It's a complete lie.
But not at the Bristol one.
Not the Bristol one. I haven't been in the Bristol one. When I went on my stag do in Cardiff,
yes,
we stopped in for a couple of beers. So yes, I have actually been in a Brewdog. Did I drink a Brewdog beer? I must have done. They had other beers on tap, but I must have drunk something from Brewdog, I would think.
Is that the one near the Millennium Stadium? Or what used to be called the Millennium Stadium? I don't know. Is that where it is?
I guess so. We were around there. Yeah.
I'm
Cardiff,
sure
city
that's
centre.
where one is. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. So I have been in one.
I've been to that one.
Yeah.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, maybe it was another bar. Who knows? But anyway. Continue.
There are lots of bars in Cardiff, so that's fine to mistake it for something else. Yeah. Should we start drinking?
Yeah, please.
Yes. What are you starting with? I know. We should have cracked a beer first, probably.
Yeah, it's me diverting the conversation, as always. I feel like a deal. I am drinking a beer from Dig Brew Co.
Ooh,
which
nice.
We were actually talking about when you were up in Birmingham, saying never see their cans anywhere apart from really in like the brewery itself, but started to see a few more cans around, so this is one of the first cans that I've picked up from them, so this will be interesting. It's called Optimo, and it's a single hop double it's a single hop double dry hopped pale ale. So they've double dry hopped it for one hop.
With one hop, yeah.
Yeah, just one. Just dabbed it all around, just one.
Swirled it in. Yeah. Kind of like what Bud Light do, I suppose, really, with their one hop, don't they? Just swirl it in the water, see what happens.
They just throw it in the massive vat. Just one. It's 5.5%. It's got Marisotto wheat and Carapils malts. It's their house yeast. There's not much more. It's vegan. Yeah, not much more. Not much more to it.
Nice.
The artwork on the can, I'm guessing that's somewhere in Birmingham. It just looks like a normal street with a bin that hasn't been picked up. Yeah.
A bus stop or like Birmingham. A parking toll booth or something.
Yeah. Optimo. The thing with their beers is that I never know what they mean. Like their names are just. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you obviously have like some abstract and quirky names with beer, but these are just God knows.
Well, speaking of strange beer names, I'm drinking a beer from Moor, Bristol based, as most people probably know, but Moor always seem to name their beers after something, whether it be kind of a cultural kind of nerd reference or something like that. They've done a few Star Wars beers. I think there was one called Ray of Light, which they'd released kind of when the Star Wars movies were coming out. And they've always got kind of like little play on words with their beer names and stuff. And this one is called Moormont, and it's a collaboration with La Brasserie de Mont Saleve.
That was very good.
Maybe. You can read
Never heard of them.
And you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Can I zoom? Do it again. Show me it.
Saleve.
Saleve, yeah.
Saleve.
That'll do.
Yeah,
Saleve.
One of those.
Does it have a cute accent on the E?
Above the middle E, it does. Yes, very small.
No, not acute. The other way. What's that? Grave accent. Yeah. Saleve. Yeah, well done, Ben.
Hey,
You're a linguist.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I can do though.
Yes.
It says Rye and hops, here we stand. Obviously, Moormont is a house in Game of Thrones. Moor never give you any flavour text, so who knows why this is called that? What? I guess they're Brasserie de Mont Saleve, so Moormont. Maybe there's a link there, perhaps, and it's Moor, so that's kind of what they're playing on. I don't know why it's Game of Thrones. Well, I guess I've just assumed it is because it's the same word.
It's probably got nothing to do with Game of Thrones.
Probably not.
Or maybe it has everything to do with Game of Thrones.
It
like
may
that
do.
new Reigns game. Looks interesting.
It does. Interesting to see what they can do with that formula on a license.
It'll be... I think it'll just be a palette swap. You know, from their last game. It's like that Friday the 13th puzzle game. They made the same puzzle game basically, but it just didn't have the license. But now it does, and now it has Jason in it. But fundamentally the same game with just a palette swap. But
Brilliant.
there's new puzzles and everything like that. I'm being a bit harsh, but yeah.
That they've updated it slightly. I think with Reigns, it's always been a little bit kind of tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's slightly comedic, so it'd be interesting to see what they do kind of with the tone that Game of Thrones puts across.
That's a very good point.
When you've got a character like Daenerys or Cersei or someone like that, there's not a lot of humour with that, so it'd be really interesting to see their take on it and whether they are maybe injecting kind of their brand, whether their humour gets put into it a little bit.
I think that would be fun.
It as the kind of more serious, when Telltale did their Game of Thrones game, that was very in the tone of Game of Thrones, really.
Very serious and po-faced and everything. But that would be so interesting just to have it a bit more jokey and jovial, because I don't watch Game of Thrones, but for people who do, just to be like, yes, I got that joke or I got that reference, that'd be cool.
Uh-oh. You've
What's
gone all
happened?
frozen and weird.
Oh no.
Some weird little star swipe from the side, and then just you're back.
Can you do that?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Unedited. Oh dear.
We'll see how well I can do. What time I've got.
Got
What were
a
we
whole
saying?
bank holiday, mate. I was just going to say it would be good to see them do it in a jovial tone, so fans of the show will pick up on references and jokes and stuff like that. I think that would be a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than very serious tone of the show, but
completely. Why make this game otherwise? Really, we don't really need the Reigns formula with Game of Thrones unless it's going to have a different take to it, and it's going to be more similar to Reigns in its tone and sort of humour and stuff, maybe more so than Game of Thrones. Otherwise, just give it to someone else to make a similar kind of game that you could probably do cheaper, but who knows?
It'll probably be free to play and have all this weird crappy mobile art style.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Pay
it will look like
$1.99.
Fallout Shelter. Yeah.
Pay $1.99 for the Tyrion deck.
Yeah.
Constant updates. Beers. We're massively into this episode. We haven't really spoken much about our beers.
No. The thing about it being recorded, I was just about to say, explain the colour and what it looks like, but hopefully people can see this. But just in terms of how it tastes, it's really good. Dig Brew Co, they're one of the better brewers in Birmingham, in my opinion. This is the first I've had something from a can, but it's still same, seal of quality as what you'd have in the tap room. You can just tell that the water quality is like really good. It's really soft and drinkable.
Nice.
It's got a slight sweetness to it, and like a slight fruitiness to it, but it's just held back ever so slightly, and which encourages you just to want to take another sip and another sip and another sip. It's like I'm already halfway through my glass, and it's got a tiny bit of maltiness just mixing in with that sweetness. It's not too bitter. No, it's definitely more on the sweet side, but it's not too carbonated. It's quite smooth. It's just really, really easy to drink.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not dry at all, but you just want to keep going for more.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Although I had another beer the other night, and Kim tried it, and she enjoyed it. And again, it wasn't too dry. It was a little wet, not too wet, but a little wet. And I think that's one of the things that she doesn't quite like about beers, that they dry out really quickly and leave you with that light bitterness behind. That's the thing that she doesn't get behind. So when she had whatever I was drinking the other day, and it was a little wetter, and the more fruity flavour stuck with her, she enjoyed that a little bit more. So definitely works for some beers, and again, dryness works for some beers.
Some maybe not so much, but yeah,
depends what you like.
The fruitiness is, I think I'm getting like a little bit of pineapple, maybe a little bit of orange peel, but yeah, it's just very subtle, but it's nice, very nice.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
This Moormont, you get a big nose on here. It's a lot of. I almost feel like it's been kept in like bourbon-soaked barrels or something. You're getting that kind of slightly sweet rye nature to it. That kind of that makes me reminiscent of like bourbon. But in the flavour, that's gone completely. That's not there at all. It's quite a light sort of mouthfeel, with the malts kicking in quite nicely, but this lovely smokiness to it, which kind of remains, and it dries out quite quickly. There's a little bit of bitterness, which the smokiness kind of folds into right at the end. But it's a nice kind of, even though it's been in the fridge, it's a little warming. I didn't realise, because Moor don't put a huge amount of information on their cans, but actually for the weather today, for the drop in temperature and the rain coming down, this beer fits perfectly. Yeah. It's a bit dark outside now. I mean, this is kind of almost, I've started off with it, but I can almost see myself, if I had some more, reaching for it like right at the end of the night for like the last beer that I would have, almost just to finish something off. That lovely smokiness coming through into that little bit of bitterness.
Is it a harsh smokiness, or is it just very subtle?
No, not at all. It's very subtle. It's very light. Kind of runs over the top of these more malty kind of, maybe not quite sort of a sweet biscuity kind of flavour to it, but it's. I mean, what does it say on the front? Rye and hops. Here we stand. So I mean, that gives nothing away, but no idea kind of what hops are in there, and what malts are in there, kind of working against each other or working together to give me this. So there's not really any fruitiness to it. There's not really any floral kind of notes to it at all. It is almost just sort of straight up malts, with a bit of smoky bitterness. So
nice. And what was the percentage on that?
6%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's almost like a brown beer, I suppose,
like
at least in colour.
Yeah,
a little bit of head to it. It's not maybe as flat as I thought it would possibly be for the colour. But yeah, not really carbonated, but it's got the the head sort of retains quite nicely. So yeah.
I've seen quite a lot of few like rye beers, rye saisons. I think rye's getting back into the biz, which is nice. There's a lot of nice rye beers.
Was there a rye saison from Unity in the Beer 52 box?
Yeah, I had that yesterday. It was really nice.
It was
spicy,
nice.
peppery, crisp. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I had the Belgian IPA yesterday as well, which was really nice. Really enjoyed kind of that pepperiness that it had to it.
Yeah.
Over the top of just a very pleasant sort of slightly fruity beer. A bit of banana in there as well. Yeah, really nice. I'm glad because Unity are going to be at Bristol Beer Festival or Bristol Craft Beer Festival.
Good.
So that will be interesting. Obviously, I think Moor are going to be there. I expect Arbor are going to be there.
Yeah, they'd have to be. If they're not, what are they playing at?
Exactly. But the two beers I've got today are both from Bristol. Because this weekend, or it might have happened when you listen to this, it's the East Bristol Brewery Trail, where Moor, Arbor, Good Chemistry, Dawkins, and Left-Handed Giant all open up their doors all day on a Saturday. I think from 12 till 8 for people to just wander in, have a few beers, walk from bar to bar. So yeah, we're gonna
bring
go
your
out
wellies.
Maybe an umbrella, perhaps, or just dash. We'll just have to neck a beer and run to the next place.
Yes.
So.
Beer run.
Shall we move on to some games?
Yeah. Some fun old games. Those fun games that keep me coming back.
Exactly. Let's start there, Lucy. You've had a bit of a bouncy kind of week.
Yeah. Bounce from one game to another. Nothing's sticking. Nothing's holding. Except for a game I started today. In the last 3 hours or so. Which is Guacamelee 2. I will speak about that on the next podcast. Because I should... In fact, I probably want to complete it by the next podcast. Because I am really into it. I played a good 2-3 hours already. As soon as I came home, I was like, download that. PlayStation said for a 1 gig game, it's going to take half an hour. And I was like, cool, thank you, PSN. But, really enjoying that. But, as I say, I'll speak about that next week. Because I want to speak about it as a whole, rather than give... I'll give quick early impressions. It's great. It's Guacamelee 2. It's a sequel to one of the best Metroidvanias ever made, so it's pretty good. And the reviews are all out from other outlets, so you can gauge if it's for you or not.
It's holding up well against the first one.
Yes, it's more of the same, and that's not a bad thing. I'll have to dig more into it to see how much more it's innovated on its predecessor. But for now, it's Guacamelee 2 and it's great. But in terms of just jumping from game to game, nothing's stuck. It's like, and I think this is the game that will take me out of my funk. But I think I will just briefly touch on something that I did start playing, which is the strangest thing, because I was like, what I'm trying to do now is when I get into a funk, I don't want to play anything. I'm going to be like, pick a genre, look through all the genres and think, what would you like to play now? You know? Like, because I like a whole range of genres, apart from like RTSs and all those fun games that you like, Ben.
All the strategy fun.
And the strategy games and the turn-based RPGs and all that mess. But I do like a, whole range of genres, like shooters, arcade games, adventure games, puzzle games. But I was like, I'm in the mood for like a text adventure.
Okay.
And I was like, but there are no text adventures nowadays. There are a few on mobile that I've forgotten the names of, but there's not many out there, because this was like one of the first genres of gaming, and 40 years down the line, people have obviously moved away from that. But I was just looking in my library and I realised that I had it's called the 8-Bit Anthology, which is like a free pack of, it's Shadowgate, Deja Vu, and another game. I can't remember what the other game is. But it's like, I want to play Shadowgate. And I started playing it. And 20 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I remember. I can't remember where I've played this game. I haven't played it all the way through to completion, but I've definitely played the start of it, because this is a game, if you like, you know, old text adventure. I think it was originally was it originally a DOS game? Or it might have been on Apple first, but it came to like NES. It came to everything afterwards.
Yeah.
This was like late 80s. Late 80s game. Might have been, was it 87? I want to say 87. I can't remember. But I don't know what iteration came out first, but I think it was around 87. But I started playing it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember what to do. Yeah, put, you know, the keys in the skull, and then you do this, don't pick up the tome, do this and that. And then after about 20 minutes in, I was just, I don't know how I remembered it, because I haven't played this game in many years and I can't remember where I would have played it first.
Yeah.
God knows, it might have just been in a browser or something at this point. But after about 20 minutes, I was just so, I was like, what am I meant to do now? And, you know,
I lost.
I'll make no, I'm not ashamed. I looked up a guide, because it's like, I'm not going to be clicking around, especially I'm playing it on Xbox, because I picked up this anthology for like £2 on the sale. And you can only use like the joystick as a cursor, so that's really cumbersome in itself. It was like, you know what, I'm not going to be, if it was with a mouse, then I might have spent more time, you know, clicking around, trying to discover new things. But since it was on Xbox, I was just like, I don't have the energy for this, or the desire, so I'll just look at a guide. And yeah, those games, like, just like any point and click adventure games back then, you think of like the LucasArts games or anything, they were just ridiculously stupid. It's like, it's obviously to like prolong the game, because when, you know, if you just go through any point and click adventure, even from nowadays, you can finish that probably sub 1 hour. And if you're paying for, I don't know, a cart that costs, I don't know, back in the day, like £60 or something like that, it's like they want to stretch that experience out, so they obviously want to make the puzzles hard and a bit obtuse and everything like that. But yeah, I was playing Shadowgate and I don't know why, but it's still a cool game. I still like, you know, old school text adventures, and I wish they would make more, because it's like there's just something so wholesome and simple about it. And yeah, that was what I was in the mood for. And I also downloaded like Prince of Persia on, I just typed it into Google, like I was just saying, let me just play a ROM or something like that, and it was something in like the Microsoft store, like Prince of Persia, and it's got like all these different hacked versions of it, and I was like, I'll just download this, and it's the original Prince of Persia, and I was playing that. I just wanted a game that was just like, yeah, this is nonsense. You know, every next step you take, it's something that's trying to kill you, or it's going to be a trap, or the floor's going to open up underneath you, and it's just. But yeah, Prince of Persia played 25 plus years ago. You know, and it's like
a while. Yeah.
Yes, it was a while ago.
I suppose it's interesting because we don't really. I mean, going on the Prince of Persia idea. We've had further iterations, further games in the franchise which have brought them into more modern kind of sensibilities. You know, maybe not for the last 5 years, perhaps. I don't know when the last one came out. 5 or 6 years, maybe.
It's probably close to 10, is it not?
I don't know. The Forgotten Sands, which slightly didn't quite tie in with the film.
When was the Jake
came out
Hannell
when the film came out?
That's got to be 10 years ago. It has to be
2008. I was going to just.
I'd say before that.
I did a little bit of quick googling, and Shadowgate came out in 1987 for the
right.
Apple Mac.
Yeah, I was right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you were right. Quick googling for Prince of Persia film. But
Don't
we
Google that.
Yeah,
You don't want that in your history.
we don't go back to, I suppose, maybe the original games like that so much because we have these more modern games to go back and play. Whereas we've had a couple of, say, Castlevania games, haven't we, which have gone more into kind of like the third-person action games and stuff, but maybe nowhere quite as much as Prince of Persia, and the Castlevania games maybe didn't do quite as well as the that trilogy, the Sands of Time trilogy for Prince of Persia kind of did. So maybe people step back a little more into Castlevania, and it's a lot more accessible now to play something like Castlevania because you get it on the mini Nintendo consoles, and it's available in lots of different places. Whereas something like Prince of Persia, you do kind of have to hack your way around a little bit to find it.
Because that was originally on Apple II, so it's been a while. But speaking of Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, which I spoke about last week, got to the inverted castle. The game's great, fantastic. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with it though, because the difficulty just spiked as soon as I got into the inverted castle, and because in this game, this is one of the first Castlevania games where you actually level up. It's got RPG elements in it.
Yeah.
It would take a bit of grinding to like level myself up and just getting my ass kicked by all these weird creatures, and it's just like I'm not sure if I have the patience, at least now, to go back to it. And same with Dead Cells for me as well, because I don't think I'm going to play that game anymore. I really enjoyed my time with it, but at the end of the day, it's a roguelike, and there's only so many times I can go through the prisoner's cells without bashing my head against a wall. So.
That's fair.
Great game, though. Great game.
Yeah.
Good on you, Motion Twin. Well done.
But then, as we kind of mentioned maybe in the last episode, like not every game is for everyone. You can with Dead Cells, you were able to kind of pick those elements of it, those more Metroidvania elements out of it, and enjoy those, and they kind of outshone the roguelike elements. Whereas I suppose now at least you've got to that tipping point where you've played enough that actually those roguelike elements are kind of overshadowing the Metroidvania elements a little bit. Yeah,
and I probably played it for a good 20 hours or so, so I've got more than my fair share worth of that, and it's, bargain for your buck, and the combat is fantastic, and I really enjoyed that, and I'll probably like just go in for a few more like rounds every now and then, but I think I'll shelve that one for now. Hollow Knight got another update, free update today. I think it's their last DLC pack that they're putting out, and probably going to check that out. Much more inclined to go back to Hollow Knight rather than Dead Cells, but that's because Hollow Knight is better than Dead Cells.
I see a lot of that's good. It's good to have those tiered, numbered games for lists towards winter, maybe. Yeah,
I don't think Dead Cells is going to reach my top 10, but which is surprising considering how good it is, how good the combat is, but it's just
not enough for you.
No, the rogue elements are just too much of a hindrance, for me to get a lot of enjoyment. If there was a story, if there was like progression, there is progression, I shouldn't say that, but like more of a obvious progression, and more of just a start to end linear experience. I'd be much more inclined to enjoy it. But now that I've got Guacamelee, which is a true Metroidvania, I think that will take more of my attention away from Dead Cells, which is fine.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely. You're getting from Guacamelee to kind of what you wanted from Dead Cells. So it's good. It's good to be able to jump between these, between however many games you want to be able to jump between, getting different things from them, and then finding that one. Actually, this does what I want it to extremely well. It doesn't have this extra additional layer tacked onto it, which is giving something brilliant to someone else, and that combination for somebody else might work perfectly. But for me, this is the core of what I want, and actually this new game's come out, it does that brilliantly. So I'm gonna play that one.
Yeah,
And, you know,
yeah.
the
And
joy of there being so many developers and publishers and all of these games coming out all the time.
yeah. Like a lot of the outlets that I, just listen to podcasts and stuff like that. It sounds like they were complaining the amount of Metroidvanias that were coming out. Like, and I was like, I'm literally in heaven. It's like it's raining Metroidvanias and just outside with no umbrella, and it's great. The Messenger's coming out like next Thursday. Oh, I can't wait for that. That's why I'm gonna finish Guacamelee, because the Messenger looks Ninja Gaiden.
It does.
Looks
I'm wondering
A-okay.
whether I will pick it up on PC on its release,
Just
or
buy a
wait,
Switch.
maybe.
For God's sake. What are you doing? Just
Well,
buy a Switch.
I was looking at these. Well, not just, but about a couple of weeks ago, I was looking at these limited edition 500 million PlayStation consoles.
No one needs that.
I don't have enough money for a limited edition PlayStation Pro. I don't even have enough money for a Switch, let alone buying something I kind of already have with a new skin on it and a little bit of an upgrade.
You don't have a Pro, do you?
No.
It's just I thought not.
I'm
Slim
just
PS4,
a standard scrub, mate.
Me too. And you know what's good about Guacamelee? My PS4 doesn't sound like it's on fire. So it's on now and quiet as a whisper.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good. Even my obviously everyone will remember. In fact, it was about a year ago. This time a year ago when some prick stole my PlayStation.
Yeah, it was around this time, wasn't it?
Everyone will remember that, obviously. But when I got a new PlayStation, it was obviously the new model rather than the original PS4 that came out. So it's not as nice. It's not quite as sleek. The form factor's not quite as good.
Yeah, the toaster or the sandwich. Sorry,
but it doesn't. When I played God of War, didn't sound that bad.
Oh, that's good.
I know that my old machine would have, it would have been like a Harrier fucking jump jet going off in my lounge, just like.
Mine was so loud. It was so bad. And maybe it's my fault because I haven't cleaned it, and it is sitting in a cabinet, and it hasn't got much air circulation back there, but it's really loud. Really
kind of irrelevant.
Loud.
Design fault, right?
Yes, it looks pretty as hell. One of the best looking consoles ever made, but is it loud? That's why, God bless Xbox. They made that thing. It was a doorstop. It was huge. You could it's a murder weapon, but it was quiet, whisper quiet.
Yeah. Colonel Mustard with the Xbox One in the games room.
Pretty much. Huge. Ugly thing. What a sight!
I can see a new one. I can see them spending time on the form factor of the next iteration.
Yeah, the Xbox One X it's sleek. So I imagine the next console will look like that. Very elegantly designed.
Nice. I'm going to open up another beer.
Me too, because that one went very quickly.
It did, yeah. Yeah, I think the Moormont went a lot quicker than I possibly thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, disappeared. I'm going to crack open an Arbor. And this is Space Hardware.
Okay.
Exactly. Which is a New England IPA.
Very nice.
What does it say? I'll give you a little bit. It's 6.6%. It's in a 568ml bottle. Super heavily hopped New England IPA brewed with Aquanaut, Galaxy, Mosaic and Simcoe hops. That is all. Tells me that there's malts and stuff in there, but doesn't tell me which ones.
Yeah. I haven't had an Arbor beer in absolutely ages. Always going to the shop and think, I'd love a Arbor beer. Just for, just because it's a bigger bottle and getting value for your money. But not many, I don't see many new ones, at least in, my shop, that I haven't tried.
Yeah, I've noticed the same sort of thing, that every time I go in, there's maybe one that I'm sort of sat there and thinking, oh, I haven't had this one. They've been doing a lot of like single hopped IPAs, or single hop pales and things like that at the moment that I keep seeing. So I think I saw the Mosaic. I think it was just called Mosaic IPA, or maybe it was a pale. But they had the Motueka, which I've had a couple of times, and then just sat next to it was just Mosaic IPA, which I mistook for another bottle of Motueka, and I just thought, okay, it's just that, I don't want it. And then I saw it and thought, oh, they must have just done a single hop variety of this. So they are bringing things out, but maybe it's kind of smaller batch,
because you don't
single
see
hop
them
sort of stuff. So
you always see the same ones like Osbom and is it the Yakima one or something like that? Yakima Valley,
which is
the
really like 12% one maybe. But this one, Space Hardware, was the one that I hadn't seen before when I went in. So
I
it was kind of the instant grab for me.
I am drinking a beer from one of my favourites on the podcast, from Weird Beard.
Nice.
It's called Death Growl, and it's a lemon and honey triple. It's 8.6%. Believe it's collaboration with Solvay Society. Right, I'll read the flavour text because I always give you a fair bit of flavour text on these. Okay, after a few false starts, we hit gold with this Belgian triple. You get penny, bubblegum, and bergamot aromas with the Cascade hops, and sweet foam bananas and stone fruit esters of the Abbey yeast, mixed in with white peppery spelt notes and a blossom-like flavours of honey. Here's one deliciously complex, modern triple that will soothe the soul even of the most damned. Okay. Right. I actually had a little snafu when I picked this up on a trip to the beer shop probably about a month ago, maybe.
Okay.
And then I went there yesterday, and I picked it up again because I was like, oh, that sounds nice. I don't know if I have that one, so I have 2 bottles of this, so hopefully it's really nice and.
But that's it. I mean, unless you've drank it and you've managed to put it on something like Untapped, and you check that when you go into the beer shop, there's no way you're going to remember every beer you've ever drank.
No.
Absolutely no way.
Oh, no. And usually with Weird Beard, I know the ones that I haven't drank, because every time I see a new one, it's like, I'm going to pick that up, because they make some of the best beers in the country, and you don't hear enough about them. But
no, I was sat in the bottle shop the other day, kind of looking around the beers and noticing and chatting with Lewis at Bottles and Books, kind of about kind of what he's got coming in and stuff. And there's a lot of Bristol beers in there, a lot, because we have a brilliant kind of beer scene down here. But then the other beers that he's got in are, a lot of Northern Monk. You get some Wylam, you get some Verdant. He's just got in a few more beers from Pressure Drop. You're starting to see, at least for him, where he had maybe, I don't know, the Bristol breweries plus maybe another 10 or 15 brewers from around the country who he got in regularly. It's starting to open up a little bit more again. You used to go to, say, when we started the podcast up, you'd go down to like Brewer's Droop or Grape and Grind, and again, tons of Bristol beers. Maybe a few American, maybe a few German beers, maybe a load of Belgian beers in, but then kind of breweries from the UK and further afield in the UK didn't really get much of a look in. Maybe someone like Brew by Numbers or Colonel, some of the slightly more well-known guys perhaps. But I've noticed a few more are starting to maybe come back a little bit, and I don't know whether it's been like production issues, whether the CO2 shortage has actually had an impact on people and on breweries and things.
Possibly.
Suddenly, I picked up, I think, which I'm going to say for next week, a beer from Mad Hatter, and I've not seen them for absolutely ages. Are they still doing bottles? No, they
Really?
jumped to cans, or at least the beer that I've got is in a can.
Okay, because I only remember them in bottles.
Yeah. part of my conversation with Lewis was about the difference between cans and bottles and kind of what he shifts and the speed at which he shifts things. So I think at some point in the future I'm going to try and get him on an episode.
Oh, that'd be great.
Whether that's just me going to the bottle shop, getting smashed there with him.
That sounds pretty good.
So maybe talk about those kinds of things. Maybe. But the beers that we're drinking now, the Weird Beard, how is it?
It's quite nice. I won't say very nice just yet. What I'll say off the bat is that I was looking at see if there was any ingredients, because it does taste like it's got coriander in it. Like that kind of that soapy kind of taste, which isn't for everybody. Absolutely not. I don't mind it, and sometimes it works well in some kind of beers. This one I'm not sure if it's like the citrus from the bergamot or that I'm tasting, or if it is like this strange coriander flavour that I'm getting.
Okay.
But it has got lemon in it. It might be that. It just tastes slightly soapy. But
yeah.
You know, when you're thinking about, like, I don't know, fairy liquid. Shouts out to fairy. But you do get those like citrusy, like washing up.
You do, and
fluids,
you kind of you maybe find it when you've picked a glass up like off the draining board or something. That it's just got that little kind of edge to it around the rim of the glass or something that you pick up on the first couple of sips of whatever you're drinking, whether it's water or something. So yeah, I know what you mean.
But that does it slowly fades, and you do pick a bit more of like the honey in it, a bit of sweetness. But I will say that it's really, really, really smooth. You can't taste that 8.6%.
Okay, nice.
I mean, looking at it, it's quite opaque. It looks like it would be like quite juicy, quite of a juice bomb, quite heavy, quite thick. But it is going down really easily. But I think I'm just going to let this one dwell and come back with some more thoughts. But I'm enjoying it for now.
Nice. Okay.
It wasn't. I'm glad it's not too sweet, because I don't really like sweet beers, and with the 8.6%, you would think that, that sweetness would probably go up with the alcohol content, but it's not too sweet. But I kind of want a bit more from that honey, but I'm not quite getting it yet. But I'll see where we are.
Honey's a very difficult one.
It is
to push through. It's so delicate.
I've had so many beers that have been like, oh yeah, honey IPA. I can't remember the name of the brewery, but I had 2 beers on them on a podcast, and one of them, I think both of them were like honey based, but one couldn't taste the honey at all. It was amazing IPA. That's what I find a lot with like these honey beers. It's like, I can't taste the honey at all, but I really love your beer. The only person who's done it right for me so far is Daya with their Honey Be Good, and I think they've discontinued that. Probably still have the recipe somewhere, but they don't make it anymore. But that is the best honey beer that I've ever tasted. But I'll let this sink in. How's the Space Wars?
Space hardware.
Yes.
It's nice. I'm coming around a lot more recently to stone fruits, to like the style of like a New England IPA as well. I don't know whether it's just because I'm drinking more of them that my palate is changing very slightly, that I'm enjoying them a little bit more. But this is, it's very, very opaque. It's very hazy. It looks a little kind of orangey. There's a lot of sediment in the bottom. I don't know if you're going to pick that up on there. You can just see, a couple of little bits in the bottom. But it's got kind of those stone fruit flavours to them, but they're not big. They're not kind of in your face. And with a lot of Arbor beers, they tend to have a big flavour. This seems a little bit pared back, a little bit maybe balanced out with something else. To give a slightly smoother kind of feel to it. It's quite viscous. It's quite thick. In its
it looks it. It looks like when you're at the beach and you got sand and just watered down sand. That's what it looks like. It looks that thick and that.
It does. It does.
Just,
I mean, to drink, it's not quite that.
No,
I'm
just saying that's what it looks like.
It's a little thicker, maybe around the lines of, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the Cloudwater double IPA version numbers, which was like super thick. It's not quite there, it's not super thick, and we're not talking kind of like stout levels of sort of thickness here, but it's a little bit thicker than your kind of like your standard IPA or your standard like New England IPA. But it's got a lovely little bitterness to it at the end as well. So these stone fruit flavours, they stick around slightly.
Yeah, nice.
And they kind of merge into this like nice bitterness, which kind of kicks in the mid and then comes around sort of more towards the end. But it doesn't push down those stone fruit flavours. It kind of almost comes in alongside them and flows with them very nicely. It's a little dry, not quite as dry as the Moormont.
Beer looking like that, I'd think it's just like, not dry at all, but
it's still wet. It's still wet, and then it kind of goes. Maybe it's sort of like a 10-15 second kind of dryness to it. But that then leaves, and it might be because I'm talking a little bit as well as I'm drinking it.
No, sometimes look at the beer deceives how it's going to taste.
Yes, it does.
Flavour profile,
and it's kind of, it looks a little bit like a juice bomb, but it's not quite, which is nice. I again, a nice pick for the kind of the day and the evening that we've had. I don't know whether I would have really been up for a big juicy hit this evening. I'm obviously mentally working hard at knowing what's going on with beers without actually knowing what's going on with beers to suit them to the weather.
Who knows?
Seem to be doing that quite well.
Yeah.
But very much enjoying this. It's as I said, kind of, I think when I started describing the beer, I'm coming around a little more to like New England IPAs.
Good combat. Yeah, I told you we were wrong.
But that's the thing. It's kind of, you drink a beer style, you're like, well, it's fine. I don't really get on with it. I prefer an IPA maybe, or something else possibly. And then you drink some more of them. And then you drink some more of them.
Yeah. And
then you're just fine with them. You're okay.
Yeah, and then you start learning like the nuances of the beer. Like for a while, sours, we both hated them. It's like, sour is sour, what's the lemony scale? No one knows. Sour is a sour, but now can start picking out distinct ones. It's just like, understand the style a bit more.
Exactly. At least with us drinking beers and talking to the listeners about all of these video games, you're kind of getting our beer education as well, as we delve into different styles and we learn about them. We understand them a little bit better.
Oh, yes, our education. I thought you said
not
we're
theirs.
teaching people, because we can't
no.
teach anybody now.
No.
We don't know anything.
God,
no idea.
I'll tell you what this beer is like. You'll have had a coffee about an hour earlier. You'll drink the beer and think, this tastes completely different to what you said. This is not what I thought it was at all. Don't trust us. Apart from maybe games.
Yeah. Have you played anything?
I have. I've actually played some games.
Yes.
I think on the last episode I said I'd started something, and we chatted about it a little bit off air afterwards.
We did.
But I have been playing a lot of Moonlighter, and I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, okay. I wanted to try that out, but I just didn't get around to it. So,
it's a bit of a time sink.
That was my fear.
Yeah, it's a it's kind of like a combination of things. It's a dungeon delving, loot driven exploration game.
Yes.
But you also manage a
management sim as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all of the loot, well, not all of the loot, but most of the loot that you get, you will sell in your shop for money.
Yes.
There's a little bit of story behind it. There's 4 dungeons. They used to be open. There was a 5th door. No one knew what it was. And then things went a bit tits up and they closed all of the dungeons.
Right. Yes.
Everyone abandoned the town that had sprung up around this new burgeoning economy from all of this loot coming out and all these adventurers coming out with all this equipment and stuff. And you own Moonlighter, which is the name of the shop, which one of your distant relatives started up when the dungeons first appeared. And you've decided that you're going to kind of, delve into the dungeons. And the first one that's open, you kind of go into and you take some loot and you bring it back and you sell it. And it's got this lovely loop to it where by day you're kind of, working in a shop selling your loot. And that kind of has a very timed effect to it. Your shop can only be open for a certain amount of time, with this very small bar in the bottom going from like a full sun to a half sun to a moon. And suddenly it's night time, your shop closes, and you can go out and raid a dungeon.
Yeah.
And then when you come out or you jump out of a dungeon, it's the daytime again, and you go and you sell in your shop. And it's this loop is so compelling because you'll realise that almost every time you go back to your shop, you've delved a little deeper, you've got some, you've got more loot, or you've uncovered items which sell for a little bit more money. And each time you sell every day, you're making a little bit more money. You start off making maybe 30,000 units. I don't know what currency they're using. And then you make 40,000
rupees.
And then suddenly you make, it's probably close. Rupples or something. And then you make 60,000. And I mean, I'm currently going through the third dungeon, and I'm making like 130,000, credits, per shopping trip. And you are, and it has those kind of very, very light upgrade elements to it as well. So you can upgrade your sword and your shield, or your big sword, your two-handed sword, or your spear. There's a range of weapons that you can use. You can upgrade all of those to then just make sure that you're adequate to be able to get through the next dungeon, which obviously ups how difficult the enemies are. I think there's a some kind of headpiece, a chest piece, and some boots to be able to put on and to upgrade as well. So there's those light elements to upgrade whilst you're adventuring, but the shop can also be upgraded as well. And you can get more table space to put more items out, to get more customers to come in. You can actually upgrade the town as well. So you can bring other people in. You can bring in a blacksmith, who is then the one who upgrades your equipment for you. You can bring in this kind of, I don't know what it was called, but essentially someone who can create healing potions for you, or other kinds of potions. And also,
necromancer. No, that's the wrong thing.
They don't bring people back from the dead.
No, this is completely the wrong thing.
But they can also enhance your equipment as well.
Yes.
So,
alchemist.
Yes, like an alchemist.
Yeah.
You can also bring
words.
in. Yeah. That's good. You can also bring in another shop, almost kind of as competition. So actually, once you've upgraded your shop enough, you'll get people coming into the shop and giving you requests, and you'll have a certain amount of days to fulfill this request. And if you go on a dungeon dive and you don't quite get them, you could run to the shop and buy the maybe the 1 out of 10 that you haven't quite got items for a massively inflated price, more so than anyone would buy it from your shop. But that's kind of the the reason
from
it's there.
You can buy it from the competitor.
From the competitor, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
So it gives you kind of another route that actually, if you kind of just want to, you might get a quest which takes you back to one of the older dungeons. And if you don't want to go in the older dungeons, you just want to stay in the new dungeon. You want to delve deeper, and there's 3 levels to each dungeon. So you've just got to level 2, and you want to keep doing that. You don't want to go back to the old dungeon. You just go to the other guy and say, well, I made 60,000 in a shopping day yesterday. I've got to spend 55 of that on all of these items, and I'll make maybe 60 from the request. So that's what I'll do, instead of going to the dungeon and kind of doing it that sort of way.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's how an economy works, I guess.
Completely. But it's such a compelling loop that I find myself going, I'll just do a dungeon run. Oh no, wait, let me just sell everything. No, I'll just do another run. No, let me just sell all of the stuff that I've just put back. Actually, let me jump back into this dungeon and get some.
One more goes. One more hour games,
and it's, what happens if you die in the dungeon? You're basically kind of like ejected out of the dungeon. You lose all of the items that you've collected. So you've got 5 slots at the top which you keep, and then another 20 slots, maybe 15 slots. I'm trying to think what it is. It might be 15 slots. Which all go when you've been killed. And obviously, what happens is a little bit of time passes as well.
Roguelite like elements in it.
Not really. Not really. Like you die.
Can you get your loot back later once you go back in?
So I don't think so. So the dungeons are all kind of like procedurally generated as well.
Maybe that's what I was thinking about. You know the buzzwords, roguelite or procedurally generated. It's so one of the two nowadays.
You find that with the dungeons, there's maybe, I suppose maybe they've got X number of rooms for each of these dungeons. And what they'll do is the dungeon will populate these rooms in a certain order. So you start to recognise rooms as you're playing through, which is fine. I've never really, that's not really fussed me because, that room may then have a door at the end next time, whereas previously it didn't. Or it has a door in a slightly different place and you go into another room which is different, which, maybe you've seen before. But actually, you've just done 5 rooms which are full of enemies before you have any kind of like respite or a brief sort of pause to then be able to go back and explore a different path through the dungeon possibly. So that kind of that procedural generation does keep it quite fresh. But also I found that, as we were talking about like wanting that that sense of progression, this definitely gives it to you. Once you've upgraded your weapon, you go back into a previous dungeon and you're just almost one-shotting things and absolutely tearing the place up. Maybe you'll get down to the 3rd level and some enemies need maybe 3 or 4 shots, and you still have to think quite strategically about how you take each of those encounters, whether you dodge out the way of whatever they're doing or you just run in and just swing your sword towards them, sort of thing. So it does make you feel like you're progressing, and then when you go back, you are a lot more
stronger,
and a lot stronger to be able to take it on.
It's like Dead Cells. Like you're always making progression. Even though you'll sometimes reset back to 0. Always making progression that lessens like some of the oh no, I died, like kind of thing. It's like it's not the end of the world basically. It's like,
completely.
You feel compelled to jump back in. Not out of frustration, but out of I didn't lose everything, but I know I can do better, and I know even if I don't have the most successful run, I'm still building towards something. In the next run.
And Moonlighter does that very well as well. Yes, you've lost all of those items that you've collected, but it's so easy to just go, I'll just jump straight back in. And run through it. Completely. It's it's all it's kind of, I don't know what like bit it is. It's not 8-bit, it's not 16-bit. It's maybe it's pixel art.
It's not 32.
I thought it might have been 64. Because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of detail in the environments and the textures and like the ground coverings and the rooms and stuff. And it's all a top-down view, but it's got that slight kind of like Zelda element to it. That's like side-on view for enemies and things like this. But it looks lovely.
It looks fantastic.
And they've
and it
really
looks so fluid.
It does look completely. And they've really worked well on giving each of the dungeons its own tone and its own personality. There's different enemies in all of them, but they're completely different kind of like color palette. Everything on the walls or the ground texture is all completely different. They've really worked on kind of like each of the dungeons to make them feel unique and make them feel different. But the thing that has really like caught me is the music. And it's beautiful music that kind of like builds and swells with what you're doing. Each dungeon has its own sort of theme, and the town has its own sort of theme, whether it's day or whether it's night, and it jumps between maybe different instruments playing kind of the same refrain based on what you're doing. But there was a part, and I think it is the town at nighttime,
right,
which has a very similar kind of set of notes, like on over a couple of bars, which is very similar to one of the tracks out of Final Fantasy VII. And it's one of these very relaxed, very chilled out kind of tunes.
Is it like walking music?
I mean, it took me absolutely ages.
Music.
It's like do 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 do, you know, like just a very sort of orchestral kind of, just like I'm just going about my business kind of thing. It's a nice sunny afternoon.
Yeah.
And it sort of, it just sat really well with what I was doing, and it kind of, you know, the whole game gives a little bit of that nostalgia value of going back to maybe like adventure games.
When I look at it, it just
dungeon
looks like a Zelda game, and it's like
it does a little, definitely.
That's what's so iconic about all those Zeldas, like the music, and it's great that they've managed to, like, on top of everything else, also, I mean, music is such a critical part to any game, but also nail that as well. That sounds
completely.
Just makes the experience even better.
It does. It just enhances it just that little bit. And I don't think, you know, I wasn't really feeling very nostalgic at all whilst I was playing through it until I heard that. And I racked my brain thinking, I'm sure I've heard this this kind of like this little bar somewhere before, and it sounds so familiar. And I say it's from Final Fantasy VII. I think it's similar to one of the songs of Final Fantasy VII. I haven't actually gone back and listened to the soundtrack from Final Fantasy VII to see if it's similar. But
I wouldn't be surprised, you know. Took inspiration from it.
It has me, you know, it's given me that link. It has me thinking about that.
Yeah.
So you know, this well-made, very compelling game has also then loaded this little bit of nostalgia on top of me as well, which kind of draws you in just that little bit more too. So it kind of it hits like all the
notes.
Kind of like the notes that I was looking for at the moment. You know, I kind of was just churning my way maybe through Life is Strange, you know, as a second kind of playthrough, just going about it again, getting ready for the new one to come out.
So, speaking of soundtracks, that's got a pretty good soundtrack as well. Life is Strange.
Yeah, I can imagine the second one, which is out very soon, or the first episode will be out very soon. In September. Will also focus on a very good soundtrack.
I mean, it's not even my kind of music, but the soundtrack was great.
But they use it very well. It's the use of it, which really sticks out. And I think you know, that links me very well into the next game I'm going to talk about as well.
Yes. Can I take a quick toilet break? I don't want you to do.
I'll do a little.
Have too much editing.
I'll do a little jig.
Yes. Thank you.
So. Yes, another game with fantastic music that I've been playing is Mafia 3. Now, I'm maybe only, I'm probably like 5 hours in, maybe 6 hours in, something like that.
Okay.
I'm past that almost like that the intro kind of section, or at least what I played in the demo, where you have like you have the time jumps between like the bank heist that you're doing and it jumping back to Lincoln, just getting back from the Vietnam War, and kind of that builds all the way up until you've got the money and you're back in Sammy's bar. And I even after playing the demo, with what happens in Sammy's bar, then I was still kind of like, oh fuck, oh yeah, oh shit. No.
Ooh.
This has put its fucking hooks in me. I need to fucking murder everyone now. Like, and you know, and I played a little bit after that, and I'm finding that it's like pacing wise, it's a little bit slow. It starts off, like, I can understand why it starts off slow. It opens up the world to you, and it says go here for this mission. oh, here's maybe 2 objectives to go and do these. And it might just be kind of like the pace that I'm playing it at. You know, I'm doing it in quite short bursts. I'll go and do it in maybe 1 mission, and then I'll have a break to, you know, do something else, because maybe I'm only getting half an hour on the game or something like that at a time. But I'm finding, at least in the way that I'm playing, or the time that I'm kind of allotting to it, that it's a little bit slow, perhaps. But
no, just wait. It's not you. It's the game. Honestly.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard all the criticisms of Mafia 3. The gameplay will definitely be a slog towards a certain point. You're still fresh. You're still somewhat new into it, so the allure probably hasn't worn off right now. But towards the latter stages of the game, you will just want to get through the story. It's compelling enough to, you know, drag you through that that bog of the gameplay. It's strong enough to do that. But at a certain point, it is, I wouldn't say grindy, but it's just stuff that you wish you didn't have to do all over again just to progress the story. And you will get to that point. So it's not you, it is definitely the game. But you know, if the story's already compelled you, even from, because you played the demo that came out on PSN and Xbox Live quite some time ago. Like, I
was going to say like 6 months ago, but it's probably more than that. It was
probably
when
about this time
like
last
Christmas
year,
last
maybe.
year, sometime maybe.
Yeah. Did your progress carry over, or
no?
Okay.
No, it didn't. I thought it would, but no, nothing.
Games are getting better about that nowadays to have your progress carry over. But the opening, not sequence, but like the opening hours of that game they do just drag you in, and as you said to me earlier, like the characters, and like I think they motion cap this game, but like the characters, their personalities, the voice acting, it's really
very good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and it's I went on record on this podcast. It was like one of my favourite games of 2016.
Yeah.
Years can't all blend into one. 2016.
Yes.
I've seen a Hitman was out. Was it? Was it 2016?
Yeah, it was 2016. Yeah.
My head hurts, but 2016. It's a phenomenal story. It's one of the best stories ever told in video games, and I honestly think they spent all their budget on the licensed music and on the story, and then they just couldn't afford anything else after that point. And it's quite an interesting story. I think it was Kotaku who wrote a story about just what was going on with that studio. It's 13 hangars.
Hangar 13 or 13?
Hangar 13, yeah. What was going on with that studio, and because it's owned by 2K, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it was around the same time they started developing on that. There was stuff with BioShock and BioShock Infinite, I think, and all this kind of mess and all this, kind of thing where it's they projected and they wanted to fly to the moon, but budgets and poaching from different studios, etc. It affected the game, which happens with most development studios. Whenever you hear about a game that doesn't reach its potential, it's usually because of something that happened, maybe with the publisher, maybe with planning, maybe with project management. Something happened, but it's a really interesting story. Should check it out. But yeah, I think it's unfulfilled potential, because I remember when the trailers came out for it, it's I wasn't expecting Mafia 3, especially a Mafia 3 in a setting where it's not about Italian Prohibition era gangsters. It's more of this, hotbed of racism and late 1960s era kind of post Vietnam War and all. Very Messy time, basically.
Yeah.
Civil rights movement and everything like that. I never expected it to be in that kind of timepiece, but and tonepiece, sorry, in that kind of time era. But in terms of what it does with that and how honest it is and how brutal it is, no other game has done that, and I think it was special just for actually going that extra step, going that extra distance, not, erring and not blurring the lines between, maybe, like, sort of like the, not the game itself, but like the marketing push behind, like, Wolfenstein, where it's like, no, it wasn't Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein were like, yeah, to hell with Nazis with Pete Hines. Which game was it?
Yes, that was, yeah.
Yeah, Far Cry 5, rather. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Where it's like...
they're kind of like, oh, no. Well, sort of, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, oh, we're not trying to make a statement. It's like, yeah, but you are. You can't have both ways.
And then Division 2 as well has come under flack for that. Taking the Division setting to Washington and be like, oh, it's not political. But it's not political. Like,
the current administration's not going to tear the country into the ground or nothing, but we're going to make, allegory to that. But we're not saying anything at the same time.
But it's not political.
It's ridiculous.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, guys who don't like
French.
politics.
It's the French all over. They're like, yeah, but no. Laissez-faire, isn't it? Bless them. But it's just like, Mafia 3 was, pre... Well, I guess the first Wolfenstein came out, but pre, like, everything going to crap in the world. It was, like, very, very honest and very brutal about what its intentions were.
But it's honest and brutal, not just in its story around, like, Lincoln and what happens with him, but, like, in the world as well. Like, you just hear, as you're walking down the street, NPCs and people kind of like on the pavement and stuff talking about like Dr. King and like lynchings and what's happening to them, and it's very kind of, I assume they must have done tons of research about what it was like to live in this environment then, and talking to the people that kind of lived there and the conversations that they were having with people, and it doesn't hold back at all, which is brilliant.
No, it doesn't.
Which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because you don't see that kind of like rawness and honesty from like game devs. It's like, because there's also especially in the gaming sphere, there's always like, we don't want to isolate anybody, we don't want to anger anybody or anything. But it's like they were just like, this is a historical context, and we're digging into the history of it
completely,
and as you say, it factors into the world building, it factors into the story, it factors into like the gameplay. Like, even though the gameplay isn't that great, and this feature could probably go unnoticed by most people, but like how if you're in an affluent white area and you cause trouble and someone calls the cops, you can stop people from calling the cops by decking them,
slamming them into the floor.
But it's like, if they manage to call the cops, like, the cops will be there in a second. Whereas in a poorer, more, ethnic neighbourhood, the cops will be like, yeah, we're on our way.
We'll take our time.
Donut shop first,
I was already almost, when the cops showed up in one of the poorer areas that I was going to, is it the Hollow? Which is the area that you kind of start in. When I was going around there and someone called the cops and they showed up, I was almost 2/3 of the way out of the zone that the cops have already. It's kind of like, we'll kind of get there when we're ready. Oh, they got away, don't worry about it, it's fine. They jumped in the river and swam to the other side, we're not going to follow them, don't worry about it.
And I think just stuff like that is like really cool ideas, and they managed to implement some of those ideas. It's just the rest of the world feels hollow, so that's a bit of a shame. Like, but that's the thing with all the Mafia games. Like, the open world, always felt like empty. Like, always felt like superficial.
Even in these early hours, I've driven down a street which has had no cars, no pedestrians, no life at all on it, and then suddenly, boom, they've just appeared. As I've turned a corner, they're just there. Like, okay, fine. You can see the limitations.
Texture popping.
See the limitations of kind of like the engine and what they're trying to do, and suddenly the sun will just blaze
Yeah,
through buildings.
the light
There's a
boxes,
building
yeah.
there. No,
Is
there's
that
just
still
the
an
sun.
issue?
Okay.
Jeez. I would
So,
have thought they would have patched that
Like,
by
well,
now. But...
I mean, technically there are a lot of problems, but
yeah.
I'm kind of overlooking them at the moment, I suppose, because I'm compelled a little bit by the story.
Yeah, it had a bit of like Ubisoft jank in it, which was jank, but it wasn't game-breaking jank, and it was fun jank. And I met some of those things when I started playing. But I would have thought 2 years down the line they would have like patched most of that. But it's a shame that they haven't given it like the love and care that it probably should have had.
Maybe they're working on
post-release.
something else. Maybe 2K haven't given them any more money to be able to go back into this and work on it or patch it any further. They probably released maybe 6 months worth of patches, and now it's one guy doing just like
one dude.
bug fixing when he can.
Who's on the Reddit forum saying, "I'm so sorry, it's just me."
I can't help you. I know there's a problem, but I can't. It's above me.
I'm just
sorry.
one man. I'm sure it's been hinted at in that same Kotaku article that they are working on Mafia 4. So, God knows what that'll be. It'll probably go back to Italian lobsters, but to be honest, we haven't had a game like that in quite some time, so that would be really fun to play.
It would. I mean, we had the Mafia games. We also had the Godfather games around about the same time. Scarface, which was a PS2 game.
It was, yes.
As well. I mean, we've kind of had
that wasn't
these...
bad. That wasn't too
it was
bad.
fine. I really liked the first Godfather game.
Oh, the Godfather games are cool.
That was brilliant.
Those are good.
The second one, kind of not so much, but
I can't even remember the difference between the first ones.
I mean, it's not quite. We're not quite in the realms of like zombies. We haven't had that many games. They've not the Mafia, Italian Mafia haven't infiltrated games that much. We had a little bit of it in Hitman, but only a tiny little bit in the Sapienza sort of map. But that's kind of it,
James Bond.
Really.
Yeah, but
so
there hasn't been. Yeah. Apart from Guns, Gore and Cannoli and Guns, Gore and Cannoli 2, which are great games. Yeah, there hasn't been many. I think there's definitely space for that to have a lot of resurgence, which would be that'd be so cool.
I suppose it goes with we were talking about how maybe like these kinds of stories haven't been told in games, but also they haven't really, like, this point of view and this story hasn't really been told in movies a huge amount. And actually it's only maybe like novels that kind of can push it a little bit more, because obviously novelists need to make money and they want to sell their books and stuff, but you have a much broader range of books available to you than you do movies or video games in terms of narrative. So someone can come along and say, I want to write a very a piece about the civil rights movement. This is my novel that I've written about it, that follows this character through this period in the 60s, and a publisher will turn around and be like, cool, yeah, we'll pick that up, we'll do that for you, sure, no problem. You try and do that in a film, and maybe there's only 2 or 3 different distribution houses or publishers that want to be able to do that, and you go to games, and then there's maybe only one that will be, that will pick you up, sort of thing. So I think with this, they were very brave to kind of tell that story to start with, but it kind of it almost, I don't think it, I think maybe the first Wolfenstein, or the reimagined Wolfenstein, was maybe the first game to properly give that like little dynamic shift, to kind of be a little bit more sort of like it's okay to speak out against these shitty things and these cuntish kind of people. Let's
and the thing is
it's a history, it's a historic kind of based game, and it's not set in the future. It's not set in the present, but it's allowed maybe other games to go like, actually, we want to tell a story that's a little bit that. Obviously, it allowed Wolfenstein 2 to kind of take that next step further as well. So,
just in addition to that, it's like I can't remember any outrage about Mafia 3, about Wolfenstein, the first one. I can't remember any outrage, the likes of what we've seen with like Wolfenstein 2 or Far Cry 5 or anything like that. And it just shows you how everything, I don't want to get too political, but it just shows you how everything has shifted.
Yeah,
how
completely.
it's actually incredible, because thinking about it now, Mafia 3, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to dig down into civil rights. We're going to show how awful things were. Nobody said anything. Everyone was excited for the game.
Yeah, very much.
And how everything is just completely pendulum shifted to the other side. Everyone is outraged when you see any person of colour or any woman in any video game on the cover or as a main protagonist. It's extraordinary.
That's it.
How that shifted.
Gears 5,
like,
better
what?
watch out.
I can't wait for Gears 5.
Someone on
Cannot
some
wait.
message board is coming for them at some point.
Yes,
I
yes,
imagine.
she's a Hispanic woman.
Fucked. That game's about to sell like 2 copies. No one will buy that game.
Oh god, no. It's on about dude bros loving each other. You know?
But I completely agree, and I think it's because we're starting to get to a point where stuff like maybe Mafia 3, and very much Wolfenstein 2. Even though Wolfenstein 2 is still like an alternate history, 50s based. Is it in the 50s, Wolfenstein 2? I know it's a bit of time after World War II is finished, isn't it? So it might be the 50s based game.
50s,
anyway,
yeah, 50s or it might be the 50s, yeah.
They are cutting very close to home, and they are dealing with issues that have come back up in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And whether you're, you can talk about whatever political spectrum you want, you can pick a side if you really want to, but a lot of these games kind of tackle a very extremist view, and we can go back and we can think, well, America in the 60s, a lot of people thought the way about black people or anyone that wasn't white, essentially, in a very different way to how they thought about other white people. And that, even I suppose even kind of then it was almost a normal kind of view for those people to think that. It is a very extreme sort of view, like it's an extreme position to kind of take about another human being, and at least with hindsight we have that kind of knowledge now to think about it and think like these, at least with a little bit of education perhaps it might have been a little bit different, and
it was more normalised back then.
It was more normalised. But it's these kind of these extreme positions that these games are portraying are starting to cut very close to the political kind of pushes that we've been having very recently. So I think maybe that's kind of...
Yeah, I think you're very right. There is going to be a push and pull. It's like, yes, creators are going to want to take current events and status quo and meld it into their game. I just think it's also because everything's under a microscope at this point.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Why it's just even bigger, because, like, as I said, if Mafia 3 came out this year, it'd be a completely different story to what it was when it came out in 2016. Completely different. And it's only occurred to me now how that momentum shift just happened, and how, like, vociferous it is, like how it's incredible, because it's like I didn't hear anyone peep about Mafia 3. Everyone talking about Mafia 3, they were just talking about how crap the gameplay was, nothing about the story.
My boat flew into the sky. Yeah.
They were talking about the bugs. They weren't talking about how dare you say this, and butchering people in this way. It's like, that's what happened, dude. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's okay. Don't worry.
And it's okay for those of you that are sat there and you're playing through, like as I have, like I've played through Mafia 3, and I'm sat there thinking, even as Lincoln, I played through a couple of games and I'm like, oh, I've kind of got options here. I could turn off knifing all of these people and take them down and knock them unconscious, but actually, I'm gonna fucking murder all of these fucking people. Like it's fine to have to kind of to allow you to get involved with the story and the emotion and kind of how you would feel about that situation and put yourself in that character's position. Yeah. I've never been in a position that Lincoln Clay had ever found himself in. I've never been in that position.
No one has.
But
I never went to Vietnam.
No, you definitely have not. You might have been to Vietnam, but it definitely wasn't to shoot anybody.
Well, how do you know?
Well, that's true. It's why you like Hitman so much, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what it is. But it's fine to kind of put yourself in that person's shoes and think, I'm going to fucking destroy everyone.
Oh, yeah. It's like the Tomb Raider that's coming out in a few weeks. And everyone's like, oh, well, Lara's killing people. She shouldn't be killing people. It's like, you can, like, put your mud on your face and be like, you know, Arnie in Predator. I'm going to kill everybody like that. I don't care. Because it's badass. You know?
Or was it like is it Rambo 4, like whatever it was called, John Rambo, where he's just sat on that like minigun on the back of the car as they're all running up the hills.
Yeah, it's like, this is fun.
And it's just like 3 minutes of him just firing this gun at people. And the whole way through that film I'm thinking, yes, keep going. Yes, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, it's like there's narrative dissonance, and there's like, this is just cool. This is just cool to kill everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do it in real life. Let me do it in a video game. I don't care if Lara Croft has redeemable qualities. I mean, 20 years ago, she had pointy tits, so it doesn't really matter. It's like...
Which no one has.
Yes.
So it's just, you know, let's get outraged about things. No one's got pointy tits. What's going on?
Not anymore.
Yes. It's not the 90s anymore, is it? So
no.
And that's it. As you said, it's a video game.
Yeah.
And I know that's for some people, maybe not like the people that we at least kind of relate to and push to, that listen to us. That you know, I imagine our audience is of a very certain leaning kind of way. But you know, for everyone out there, it's a video game. It's a piece of entertainment. It can touch on whatever topics its creators want it to touch on. It can say whatever it wants about society, as any novel, as any film, as any piece of entertainment can do.
Yes,
and
you
can
don't
choose.
have to play it.
You can choose to consume it or not. Don't like what it's saying, don't play it.
It's
Simple
like
as that.
GTA. I mean, people say you can kill hookers or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's one thing you can do. Is it like violent against women? It's violent against everybody.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
You can kill
violent
anybody
against all of those pigeons that are hanging around that you just need to shoot instead of finding hidden
goddamn
packages.
pigeons.
Just fucking follow those pigeons.
I spent a whole year in uni tracking down those bloody pigeons. But yeah, it's like that game called Hatred that came out.
Yeah.
And people were so up in arms about it. I was like, why? I was like, why are people so upset about this? If anyone doesn't know the game, it's just basically a senseless killing game. It's like you're a dude in a trench coat, long hair, and you're walking down a street and you're just killing civilians. And it's like, that is somehow worse than GTA. And it's like, I don't know if it's because that was the main conceit of the game, whereas like GTA, it's like, you go out of your way to kill pedestrians.
I guess it's context, right? Because even something like Manhunt, where you're going around, and like the whole idea of Manhunt is to kill everybody and escape the level.
Yeah.
And you can be as brutal as you want in kind of like 3 stages. You know, if you've got a plastic bag, you can just suffocate them, or you can then suffocate them and beat the shit out of them, or you know, there's 3 stages to every kind of weapon that you've got and the kill execution that you kind of want to do. And like the whole idea that they tried to push with that was that you'd been captured for to make like snuff videos essentially. And then I seem to remember the controversy with the second one was similar to Hatred, in that you were just going around killing people. There was no, you weren't a victim as such. There was no situation you were put in where you had to do this, where you're forced to do it. So that wasn't okay. Obviously, if you're forced to kill people, it's fine. You know?
Spider-Man's not forced to be Spider-Man. He can just be Peter Parker. That's very true. Of the day.
He could,
even though Spider-Man doesn't kill him. But I don't know. Is he got the Batman code? I have no idea. Does he kill people? He does kill people. He killed that guy who killed Uncle Ben. in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
No more rice for you.
Did he kill him? No, he tripped out of a window. He tried to kill Sandman.
Fuck knows.
In the third movie.
Fuck off.
Classic
Really?
piece of cinema. Well, in his... in the dark Tobey Maguire part, where he turned all venomy. Anyway, let's move on.
Oh,
Let's move on.
I hope the game doesn't touch on any of that.
I hope it does. I hope you can dance down the streets.
Can you kiss someone upside down just randomly in an alley?
If there's not a button prompt for that at some point in the game, throw it in the trash.
Pointless.
Right in the trash.
5 out of 10. 4 out of 10. Shit.
Yes.
No upside down kiss. No venom sequence.
Yeah.
Done.
Get rid of him.
Yeah,
Get
rubbish.
rid of him.
Rubbish.
Is Rhino in it? He better be.
He is. Yeah, he was. He was in the last.
Oh, he is.
In the last trailer.
Oh, he's in the trailer.
No
Good.
Mysterio yet though. No Mysterio.
Because I just remember that Rhino fight. Was it in Spider-Man 2? I can't even remember. But that was cool.
Oh god, I remember. Even before that, there was like a side-scrolling Spider-Man game.
Is that the one I played on Game Boy?
No, it was. Well, unless it was Game Boy Color, because it was definitely.
There was a Game Boy Color one.
It was definitely a color game, and Rhino would essentially just run across the screen, and if you're stood there, he'll just fucking knock you over, and then if you jump over him, you're fine. You're all right. But actually, quite difficult because the timing wasn't quite what you think it would be. So, yes.
I definitely played a Spider-Man game on Game Boy Color. Don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Don't know if it was a spin-off of one of the console games. It was Spider-Man. So I had it and it was cool.
I think it was a PS1 game.
It might have been the spin-off of the PS1 game. Who knows? It's incredible how many games I've forgotten I've actually played. It's like when someone mentions it, it's like, oh god, yeah, I played that. Oh yeah, I played the Flintstones game on NES. There's a copy of that somewhere within my family.
Jeez,
that apparently goes for like £400 or something.
I've been playing games since like 1990, so that's like 28 years worth of games to remember. There's no way. There's absolutely no way I can remember every game I played. And I don't know whether it's because...
And that's why I started writing them down, because when I'm old and doddery and I can't remember, it's like, oh yeah, I played that Guacamelee.
Defining point in my life, Guacamelee. Yeah.
Nah. It's a great Metroidvania, but...
I know what you mean completely. I spent I think when I was 30, when I turned 30, I decided on Facebook to post up in the the preceding 30 days to my birthday, like a game which had influenced me, and it wasn't 30 to number 1 in my favourite games. I tried to do it kind of like sequentially, chronologically almost. How I kind of started out in the games that I enjoyed playing, and I must have started this like say 45 days before I started to post them, and I racked my brain for 2 weeks, 10 days trying to remember like every game I played. There was no way, absolutely no way I could remember, and the list turned into the games I remember playing, because obviously they've stuck with me. The ones I remember playing are the ones that have stuck with me, that obviously meant something to me. So that kind of like, that list essentially was like influential games in my life, or just games I can
just
remember.
Games I remember. Because it's like, I forgot that I played like Super Mario Land 2, like, I only remembered like a couple years ago, and it's like, I love that game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I played that game. It's like, you just completely forget. Especially when you're that young, and it's like PS2 games, it's like it's only when people bring them up, and that was only 15 years ago. It's like, I played these games and I remember playing them, but if you had not prompted me, I wouldn't have remembered playing that game
completely.
Like the Matrix game, and like, as you said, Scarface, and like Godfather games, and it's like,
was it the Matrix Reloaded?
It was one of them. It wasn't very good. It's like something that I rented. There's so many games that I rented.
Not Matrix Online. That wasn't very good.
It's so many games that I rented, played briefly, or played like over a weekend or something like that. And it's like, oh yeah, I played that game. Don't remember much about it, but
I remember when I got my PlayStation 3, and we didn't get any games with it, but we went up to the rental shop, and we rented out some games, but they didn't have any PlayStation 3 games in. So we just had to rent PlayStation 2 games we hadn't played before. And I remember some kind of really bad Jackie Chan game.
Yeah, I didn't play that.
First game I played on PlayStation 3, some really bad PS2 Jackie Chan game. I have no idea what it was called. I just remember smashing crates and beating people up, you know.
Oh no, what is it called? What's it called? Something Nights and
Shanghai
Noon.
God,
Shanghai Noon. Shanghai Nights.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was definitely more like Rumble in the Bronx style kind of.
Oh well, that sounds cool enough.
It would be, but it was like. Do you remember Final Fight? That kind of, you know, and not the 2D, like the 3D kind of fighting game. It was kind of a bit like that. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, I think that's best to be forgotten.
I remember renting it for about 2 days and taking it back and be like, I will not rent this again. Yeah. I'm going to go and buy the first PlayStation 3 game I see. Buy.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, just games that I bought and I traded, or when I say traded, lent and nobody gave it back. Like just like I was thinking the other day, like one that I infamously known that I lent somebody was like the Rugrats game on PS1, and I rented that for was it FIFA 96 or something like that, and it's and the guy he clearly liked Rugrats, and we were too old to like Rugrats at that point, and it's like he clearly liked Rugrats a lot, and he didn't want to have his like FIFA 96 game back, so he just blanked me. When I was like, "Do you want FIFA 96 back?" and I'll get Rugrats back. No word from him, because he clearly wanted Rugrats. Yeah.
Oh no.
He works for Aston Villa now.
Oh well.
Says it all.
That does say it all. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he clearly just wanted the Rugrats. But yeah, just games that I traded and I lent, like X-Men fighting game that I was thinking about the other day. So, oh yeah, I played that. That was cool as hell. And just, I remember buying games on like the Sega Master System at like, was it HMV back then, and Blockbuster, and
I mean, but that's the thing. Like, there's been so many games,
and so many bad ones, I mean, which you would forget, which you want to forget.
So many like mediocre ones that you just don't remember. It's just, you know.
I remember Croc because that was terrible.
What was
bad.
Fuck. What was the ocean game where you were like a fish?
Echo
you were James
the Dolphin?
Bond. No, you were James Pond. Do you remember James Pond? PC
I've heard
game.
of it.
Was it a PC game? Fuck knows.
I've heard of it.
So many fucking games.
I thought that was just a joke.
Well, it probably
I thought
was.
he was on about like Seaman or something. Terrible games.
When you say wait, see this then leads me on to TV programs that I've forgotten.
Yeah.
What was the animated pirate show with Seaman Staines and like Roger the Cabin Boy? Pugwash.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Captain Pugwash. Yeah. Yeah.
No one. Stop?
No one. I was about to say no one's gonna know what we're on about.
No. Should we finish?
No one after it. Yeah. No one born post 1998 is going to have any idea what we're on about.
We've probably got some older listeners, people who remember James Pond and Captain Pugwash.
Oh yeah, we've got some oldies on here.
Yeah.
Thank you for. You're the ones with the least amount of time, so thank you for listening every week.
You can't just sit around all day listening to podcasts. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably
It's like
got the
being in the
kids to
American
look after.
military, isn't it? Rather than thank you for your service, thank you for your time.
Yes.
Dear podcast listener, let's talk about the beers that we've drank. Lucy, you've had two.
Yeah.
One from Dig and one from
Weirdbeard.
Weirdbeard.
Yeah. The weird beard, I'm glad I let it like settle in the glass for a bit, because you got more of those honey and lemon flavours and like the the soapiness. It's such a derogatory term. I don't know, like herbal essence to the beer that faded away over time. You got more of the honey, you got more of the sweetness. Nice beer, definitely not my favourite from Weirdbeard. It's not a bad beer by any means, but not my favourite. But the Dig Brew Co beer, the Optimo, that was good. That was really good. Definitely pick up more kind of. This is very sessionable. I could have just drank 10 of these throughout the course of the podcast. Very easy drinking, very smooth. Nice fruity flavours that are just slightly subdued and make you want to go for more. Pineapple, like citrus, orange peel, that kind of stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, definitely the Optimo. I don't know how, if they're ever going to be widely available. Even to the, just the Midlands, let alone the rest of the UK. But if you can get up to Birmingham, it's definitely a good shout. Definitely a chilled out place to go to, Dig Brew Co. So
Yeah,
look for
Dig was one of the highlights of us coming up to Birmingham. Definitely, it was very
nice,
the beer
chilled
was
out
so
place.
good as well.
yeah, and they
it
have
just-
like tons of taps. They have,
Exactly,
like
there's
9,
like-
10 on it. One.
I mean, it
time.
must have been more than that. It must have been 12 or 15 when we went
Yeah.
in that they had on. Plus, all of these different cans in the fridge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all knockout beers, and to know that they're canning them and that they stay this fresh and this they match like something that you experience at the tap room. It's really promising to see. So,
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Out of the two that I had, the Moormont, or Moor, and the Brasserie de Mont Saleve Moormont, and the Arbor Space Hardware New England IPA.
Yeah.
It's difficult to pick between the two because they're different very different beers. The one from Moor gave me a very nice warming kind of feel.
Yeah.
It had those kind of like those rye elements, which maybe gave it that little bit of like a bourbon kind of wood smoke, little bit to it. The Space Hardware, whilst being a New England IPA, kind of toned that down a little bit, balanced it out slightly to make it maybe a little bit more IPA-ish, give it a bit of a bigger flavour, a bit of a more bitter kind of flavour to it as well. So it's hard to pick between the two.
I think you, just from what it sounded like from here, I think you enjoyed the Moor. The Moor.
Yes,
The Moor.
I think,
the Moormont Moor.
Yes, and I think you're right. I think I did enjoy the more, and I think because it's given me something that I haven't had for months now. I mean, the last kind of beer that I had from memory, which gave me that kind of that very warming end of the night, almost like that nightcap kind of feel.
Yeah.
Was the Bon Chance from Good Chemistry, which was last year.
Oh, yes.
It wasn't even this year. So I mean, I might have had other beers which have given that to me, which just haven't quite stuck with me. Maybe talking about things sticking with you, games and movies and TV shows, and those beers maybe haven't quite stuck with me as maybe that Good Chemistry one has. But this Moor is just very well placed for today. That smokiness on it wasn't harsh at all. It's really light, but lovely to feel that through from the kind of like the malty and the rye sort of beginning to it, pushing that smokiness through into that bitterness.
Yeah.
Whereas the
Sounds
Space
like you're getting
Hardware,
all the comfort of like a stout, but it's not being too heavy. It was like 6%.
Exactly. Yeah.
On a night like this where it's not winter, it's still summer, but it's a little bit chilly.
It's on the turn.
Yeah. God.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We need an Indian summer. We need at least another 3 or 4 weeks of warmth. But yes,
hopefully.
for tonight, the Moormont, I think, has just picked it for me.
Just clinched it.
And normally I'm an Arbor advocate. You know, I love everything that Arbor makes. So
they make some good beers. Yeah, I need to. They are at the Bristol Festival, aren't they?
I think so.
They should be, but yeah, if they've got some new beers there, it would be nice to rekindle my relationship with Arbor because they make some good beers.
Yes, they do.
Never had a bad beer from them. Never.
No, that's very true.
No.
But again, I don't think I've ever had a bad beer from Moor.
No. Don't really have bad beers nowadays because, you know, when you're
That's
an indie
true.
brewer, if you have one bad beer, then you're not going to go back, are you?
You probably, exactly. You probably chuck it and never, you know, iterate on the formula, change it up to make it a lovely beer. So, yes, very true. If people want to talk to you, Lucy, or play some games with you, how do they do so?
Add me on Twitter at TankedUpLucy, or add me on PSN and Xbox Live and Steam and Untapped.
Ooh.
At JuicyLoose9.
Winner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Hey.
There was a joke in Guacamelee about... Because the first one was very meme heavy.
Yes.
This one's like... Well... They refer to like different games, and that's how they make their jokes. And it was like when you turn into a chicken.
There was a lot of chickens. Yeah, there was a lot of chickens in Guacamelee.
Yeah, and it was like you're going to be a winner, not a chicken dinner.
Nice.
You're going to be a winner, not a chicken dinner. I was like,
that's good.
That's funny. PUBG joke. Yes.
Good. If you want to talk to me, tell me that I should play Guacamelee too. You can get me at Nova_47 on Twitter, on PSN, on Steam. And not anywhere else because I'm a poor human who can't afford any other consoles. So they're the places you're going to get me. You can get all of us on Twitter at tankedup_cast, or you can email us tankedupcast@gmail.com. You can also go and comment on any of the articles posted over at outoflives.net, where you can find our podcast, where you can find other podcasts, Glorious Movies Show, the Out of Lives podcast, which we've not done for a few weeks now because I got married, so that put a spanner in the works a little bit. Scott's just got a job, so that put a spanner in the works a little bit. We're balancing it. We're trying to find some time to be able to do it.
But if you ever want a consistent podcast, Glorious Movie Podcast, Mr. Moody, churn them out like a pro.
Moody fucking churns them out.
He
smashes it. He smashes it.
He does.
Completely.
He absolutely does.
Yeah.
Dedicated to his work.
A little bit of insight. As he will say himself, he hasn't got all of the insight, but a little bit of insight into what's going on in Hollywood and movies in general, then check out the Glorious Movies Show over on Outlives.net or iTunes or your podcast service of choice, where I'm sure you're listening to us. And if you haven't rated us and reviewed us yet, do it. Give us as many stars as you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5.
I'd recommend somewhere between 1 and 2, but
too much beer, not enough games. Reviewer 2. Too much games, not enough beer.
It's like that one where I wasn't drinking. Too much water. Just too much water.
It's too refreshing for us today.
Yeah.
It's fine. But yes, go to your podcast service of choice and rate us, review us, spread the word so we can expand the conversation, have it with more people, which I'm trying to do a little bit more of on various gaming groups and Facebook groups and things. I've had a bit of a break during the summer. I've pulled away slightly. I'm kind of maybe putting myself out a little bit more over the last week.
That's good.
I think the wedding was like an all-consuming event. And I pulled myself back from almost everything. So
So is marriage in general. So
it's pretty similar to how it was before.
Don't let him fool you. Don't get married.
Yeah, not much has changed apart from I'm even poorer than I was previously.
She's got him at gunpoint. Don't listen.
She is just outside having a cigarette, so I have to speak very quietly. So she'll appear at the door in a minute for a cigarette. So for another week, we've been tanked up. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey.
Ciao.
Hooray.
Hey.
Now